Hi, my name's Mike, and I just wanted to real quick do a video here showing sort of a do-it-yourself fix for Bomb Squad. This is a game I just got on Kickstarter, and very excited about it. I actually had a chance early on in the design to play test it a little bit. Really been looking forward to it. Some people have been complaining about this puzzle frame. You have all these various room tiles that fit into a frame, and there's different preset scenarios, and that sets up the game. And there are many of the scenarios, especially some of the early training ones, that use this 1x2 configuration, so one row with two different tiles. And then there are some of the later ones that use a 2x2 configuration. And one of the problems people are running into is this board is actually sort of this puzzle frame, and in the 1x2 configuration like this, because of the way the tiles are manufactured and cut, it's really, really tight. And in some cases, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get both the frames to fit in there because of the size of it. So in the 2x2 configuration, there's enough points that it can kind of relieve some of that tension, that it doesn't seem to be as much of an issue, but the 1x2, it's a little bit worse. Also, the tiles don't seem to be perfectly square, so depending on which way they need to be oriented, it's a little bit tougher. In some cases, you can kind of cram them in there. Anyways, I'm going to show you what I did real quick to fix this, and it seems to work really well. Now, note, I did use a Dremel for this. If the thought of using a Dremel on your game is terrifying to you, then you can either just watch this to see the madness, or you can just tune out right now. But what I did was I picked 4 spots on the board where I wanted to basically shave down some of these little puzzle corners. So kind of right here and right here. By just shaving those down a tiny bit, it allows those pieces to flex and pull apart a little bit more. And I just wanted to I didn't want to do that on all the pieces because that would take a long time. And that would probably make it actually too loose. But I wanted to pick a couple key spots, and you can see where these little post-its are, which areas I picked. And I picked those spots for 2 reasons. Number one, I wanted to have one on the top and bottom and on the left and right, so it kind of relieves some of that pressure evenly. And also I wanted to pick some pieces that would help it in both pieces that were used in both the 1x2 and the 2x2 configurations. In the 2x2, you're going to add these extensions in here on the side. So those pieces, these aren't always used. And then in the top, you're going to be changing out which robot's used up there. And so, anyways, these 4 pieces are used. There are 3 spots, right here, and right here, where I did basically the outie of the puzzle side. So I shaved down these edges right here very slightly. And then on this one over here, I went ahead and did the inside edges. Because again, in this case, I guess I could have done this one because this one's always used. I was trying to keep it fairly even, like the 2 lower ones and the 2 upper ones. In hindsight, even this one here, I could have done one of the ones on this side. Just because now when it pulls apart a little bit more, the police car graphic doesn't line up exactly, which doesn't really matter to me, but over here there's not as much, it's not really an issue. So you maybe could do it over here instead. I mean, there's a couple different ways you could do it, but again, I wanted to pick ones from pieces that were always used. And essentially what I did was I took my Dremel here, and I've got this flat sander. This is a 1 1/4 inch diameter sander. And so here I'm going to stick this in the tripod here for a second. Sorry about the jostling. And essentially took one of the pieces and just sanded it and just kind of went right along the edge there, real smooth, real carefully, real slowly. Flipped it over into the other side, just barely sanded it down a tiny bit on both sides. Again, just making sure it was nice and even. I went nice and slow. Before you mess with your actual pieces, if you're interested in trying this, I would recommend practicing. If you still have these punch tiles that yours came out of, it's really great because you've got all these little pieces here that you can mess around with and practice and mess them up and do all kinds of crazy stuff to them without affecting your actual game, and you can get a feel for it before you practice. These are my practice ones, and I kind of chopped these out of a bigger piece, and I goofed around with these ones a few times and sort of got pretty comfortable with it, and then I went on my actual ones, and it went really smooth and quick. Just took me a few minutes. And now, when I put this together and stick the pieces in there, you'll be able to see, first of all, they actually fit together real quick and smooth. The puzzle pieces, these boards are nice, really thick cardboard, which is actually what makes this fix work. If this was thinner, chromier cardboard, I would probably be a lot more uneasy to try this. I think the training 1 scenario has that one there and this one here. This is one of the ones, especially because this one is sideways, this is one of the ones that fits a little bit tighter. So it pushes right in there. And you can see right here, you know, there's a little tiny bit of a gap there, because again, these have pulled apart a little bit. Same thing there, same thing there. So it's still tight, it's still solid. These certainly aren't loose in there. But again, you can see that it goes together. It was easy to stick them in, it's easy to pop them out, and so it's not really a concern anymore. So anyways, I think that's it. Again, just wanted to share that little tip if you're looking for a way to fix that. I'm not sure exactly what TMG is going to do to address the issue in all the copies, but you know, this was a quick, simple fix for me, and if you're looking for something like that, hey, give it a go. Just wanted to do a real quick follow-up here. There's one item I forgot to mention, which is after sanding these edges, you might end up with, you can kind of maybe see it here if this would focus. The edges that you sand, you'll get a little bit of this white fringe, which, you know, on the back of the board isn't that big of a deal. On the board here, especially in these darker areas, it kind of stands out in a little bit. It's a little bit noticeable. And so one of the things I did when I was all done sanding it is I went over those edges just on the front, and I just took a gray pen and just real gently just kind of colored those a darker gray. The color doesn't match absolutely perfectly, but once the board is all put together, it's not nearly as noticeable as the white edges, which you know, you could see pretty clearly. Even that wasn't too bad, but if you just want to clean it up a little bit more, you could just color those with a gray or probably even a black or something like that. That just hides those a little bit. If you really, really look close at it and you know that it's there, you could probably still notice it. But again, just get that color in there and you won't even notice those white fringes anymore, and your board will look great.